All right. Well, good morning, and welcome to Talk About It Live with Frank and Manny. How you doing this morning, brother?
Blessed, bro.
All
It's a
right.
good day. It's a good
Yes,
day.
and it's a brand new year, yeah. So we're here in Del Rio, Texas, in 2024 now, man.
Yeah, yeah. And with the new year, Manny, the thought comes, you pray for the best and prepare for contingencies.
I know, right? It just, and I've been, praying. Of course, I pray every day. For our country, for our nation, for our people and our community, and I've been praying a lot for this coming year, and of course, we were talking about earlier. For me, my new year started in 5784 a few months ago,
Yes.
but of course this is the civil new year per se, and so according to the Gregorian calendar and whatnot, and where the whole world stepped into 2024,
Yeah.
and of course making resolutions, New Year resolutions, and I stopped doing that a long time ago, making New Year's resolutions, because I try to make them daily now. Just
Yeah, daily, bro. I posted, and before that, so of course, what you're speaking about is we're talking about this earlier, the fact that, as a Messianic Jew, you look at things slightly different.
a little bit different, yeah.
Yeah. Praise God. At the center of it, though, is the fact that Jesus is Lord. He
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
Messiah.
I believe in Messiah. That Yeshua is the
Exactly.
Messiah. Yeah.
And so there's little nuances, but at the end of the day, man, you're right. This is a new year for most of the world, and so what we're hoping, of course, is for peace, for prosperity. But the fact of the matter is that there is evil in the world, man.
There is, yeah.
And so that so while we come in hoping, praying, working towards the best, the realization is that we are living in very interesting times and very problematic times, and times that have people's hearts full of concern and anxiety. And so, right off the bat, what I would say is the Lord has not given us the spirit of fear,
Yes.
but of power, love, and a sound mind. And we don't want to say that just as a mantra. We want that to infuse us and to encourage us, because look, we all get low, we all get tired, we all get, in moments of depression and frustration, and only the Lord can lift us up out of that. Yeah, we have family, we have friends, we have, that the family of faith. But at the end of the day, and this is, talking about resolution, at the end of the day, we have to go forward into this new day, into this new year, relying solely on God, on His Word, on the indwelling power of the Holy Spirit, and trusting that, as we lay out our day, as we walk and go through our day, that as we constantly focus on the Lord, that we'll be making the right decisions. We'll be taking the right steps. We'll be going in the right direction, listening and trying to sense the urges, the prompting of the Holy Spirit, man. Because as the clock ticked and the calendar page flipped, the situation still continues here in America, Manny. The situation continues in the Middle East. It continues on our border. Very new revelations coming through to light. When I'm saying that, I'm talking about news worthy items of interest. And what I'm talking about is for instance, Epstein and the list that's coming out, and all that stuff. Here in Texas, folks are talking about SB4, the law that was signed in by the government. Supposedly, allegedly, it's going to take a tougher stance on the border.
I don't know. I don't know. When I heard that, about basically it's arresting illegal aliens or giving Texas the right or the authority to deport illegal aliens. The first thing that came to mind, brother, is when Abbott came over here to Del Rio and we were at the Civic Center, and he announced, "We're going to finish the wall." And then we went to go look at it, and it was a chain link fence, right? A cyclone fence, and that really
had already been cut by the time
it
hadn't even been putting up half of it, and it was already getting cut.
It got cheers. It got I don't know. And I remember us looking at each other with Raul and Reyes, and we're kind of like, okay, all right, And I hate being like a Debbie Downer, man, but experience has proven to me that Abbott is basically words, and with this as well, it was okay. So there's a kind of a nuance in there, right? There's kind of a little loophole in this one as well, right?
Well, and so I was text. I said I received a text message from a person involved with the news asking me, my opinion on it, etc. And so I said, quite honestly, I wrote, look, we've seen these declarations of emergency and invasion, etc.
Yeah.
We've seen these declarations. We've seen, stuff that people get fired up and cheer and, yeah, now we're doing it. Texas is at the forefront and, we're taking a stance and everything. But I said what I've seen in the past are loopholes big enough to drive busloads of illegal aliens through, literally.
Yeah.
And so loopholes, that's what's happened, Manny, here is that there's a certain amount of throwing red meat to the crowd, to get them fired up. And so they walk away, and it kind of reminds me, I don't know what movies to watch, but there was one, and people are going to say, are you referring to Hollywood? Look, okay, that Mad Max movie, the Fury, Furiosa.
Yeah, Fury Road, or yeah.
Yeah, and so you remember there's that one scene where the guy controls all the water.
Right.
He controls the water, and so he allows some water to splash in the crowd below, and they're all gaunt and they look like walking death,
Right.
zombies, etc. And so they're clamoring for their leader to give them a drop of water, and they walk away, and so that's what happens here, Manny, is that politicians have learned to throw bones, to throw you, a little scrap from the table, and off with you, be happy now that I've done something for you. When they are in bed with these organizations, they are in bed with the moneymakers. There's so much money, Manny, to be made from this. And so, look, we walk into the new year hoping for the best, praying for the best, knowing that at the end of it all, Jesus is Lord. He is seated at the right hand of God. He will return. He will return to establish his messianic kingdom.
Yep.
And so in the meantime, we're to live and we're to fight and we're to care for each other and look out for our neighbors and stuff. But we are living in a time here in America, Manny, where we have to be bold and upfront, lay the truth out there. If people don't like it, well then go and stick your head in the sand again.
Yeah.
But there's some of us here, a small remnant, who are going to continue to proclaim the truth. Just as it's a new year, we're going to continue, man. Nothing changes other than the clock switched hours and the calendar page was flipped. America is in trouble. America needs fighters. The believers need to be involved, let their voices be heard, and not give in to fear, and certainly, Manny, not give in to tyranny. We must not bow down to tyranny, and we're already seeing them push, new strains, new bugs coming out, and so, folks, it's a template that they used once before. And they want to use it again, man.
Sadly, and all this stuff starts happening when it's close to an election, and as much as I'm not really crazy about the polls, it is interesting that, that Trump is way ahead of everybody in the polls. And I think the last one that came out as well, that 77% of Americans don't want Biden to run again. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what the Democrats are going to do this time, because, and you already see it starting. They try to get him off the ballot there in Colorado. Yeah. I think Maine is the next state that's trying to raise some issues, right?
Yeah, about California, I think, was also, squawking about it.
Trying to get them off the ballot. And folks, it's amazing because this is like, it's overt. They don't even care anymore. It's really, really overt. The last time this happened, Frank, when states try to get a presidential candidate off the ballot was during Abraham Lincoln, right? And then what happened he still won, but what happened shortly thereafter, Civil War broke out, And I'm not trying to say, hey, this is going to happen, but the reality is, this nation is really at a boiling point, and we see it, and we see all this stuff happening. We see all this illegal migration happening. Over this month, folks, here on the border, over 260,000 illegal aliens have been apprehended, and almost the majority of them have been released. And those are the ones we know about, right? Yeah. Those are the ones we know about. We always say that those are the ones we know about because it's a lot more that have come in. But we see what's happening in our nation, and so as I look back, you could see it building up. You could see it building up. People ask me, what do you think this most memorable time of 2023 was? And it's like, I really don't know. Because it seemed like every day was just getting worse. Like it kept topping it. But my my consolation is always the scriptures, right? That the Lord is on the throne. He's above the flood. He knows the end from the beginning. But he hasn't given us a spirit of fear. And this is one thing that I have to rely on. I have to rely on my faith. I have to rely on the scriptures, because if I didn't, I'd give in to the fear. I'd give in to the fear that's being promoted. There's this new movie that people have been, it's on Netflix, Leave the World Behind or something like that. A whole bunch of people have been texting me, you got to see it, you got to see it.
Yeah.
But then I found out who the producers were, and it's the Obamas, right? It's the Obamas, like, oh, okay, great. Okay, here they go, trying to instill fear again into the people of the nation.
And so, Manny, there's so many elements of this. We could sit here and talk all day and into the night about all kinds of different aspects. We started out a little bit of, this is a new year, you hope for the best, but folks, it's a continuation. And actually, Manny, what's going to happen here, the temperature is going to get turned up, brother.
Yeah.
As we go into the primary season, they are the left. When I say they, the left, the enemies of America, Marxists, the globalists certainly are trying to keep Trump off the ballot. And look, we've said it, and I've said it. Trump is not the savior.
No,
we have a savior, Jesus Christ.
And he is a polarizing. Yeah, you're exactly right. And he is a polarizing figure.
Yes, he is. Yes. But they know that he represents, in essence, Manny, a movement. He represents, in essence, the spirit and the fighting, passion, the fighting fervor of a people who still believe in freedom, still believe in what America stands for, brother. Yeah. And that's why there's this sense of, hey, look, folks still, hoping and relying on government to come and give them the answers and be the solution. And folks, we have got to move away from that. Government is playing us. Government only wants more power, more authority, total control. Total control. And so, we're not just going to sit here and throw and slam without doing the research. And I have said it over and over again, Manny. You have got to do the research. SB 4, this law that Abbott, signed into law, this legislation he signed into law, right off the bat, one of the first things that has to happen in order for a person to be removed, deported, whatever you want to call it, is the person has to agree to it. Yeah, deport me. Yeah, deport me.
That's laughable, bro, because you and I, we both, if you're first time watching this program, Frank and I are both retired Border Patrol agents, 50 plus years of experience, 25 years on my side, 30 years on Frank's side, retired Border Patrol. And I've asked illegal aliens over the years, are you willing to go back to your country? No.
No, part of the reason, common sense, first of all, no, I'm getting out of here, coming to America, whatever.
Yeah.
But the other aspect of it, Manny, is that we have nefarious NGOs, we have organizations coaching these people.
Yeah.
We have not just the cartels. And look, man, the cartels are not almighty. Right now, this invasion, Manny, the way it's overwhelming our government resources in our communities, etc., it's overwhelming the cartels, bro. They cannot possibly, deal with all these millions of people that are coming into the country. It's overwhelming them. I have gone on site to different sites and asked the people, did you have any involvement with the cartels? Anybody ask you for a bribe? Anybody assault you? Yeah, you get some stuff here and there, but the vast number of people that I'm seeing more and more of, Manny, they're coming in with no interaction with the cartels because they are overwhelming the pipeline on that side. Yeah. Now, what they have said, though, is what they're dealing with is corrupt government officials. They're dealing, with military, police, security personnel that are asking for bribes, trying to get every last penny because they know that these people have sold property, have sold houses, have sold their, their belongings to come to America. Yeah. And so they are being, robbed or bribed along the way.
And they're selling all that stuff and they're getting rid of all that stuff. Leaving their livelihoods, taking their children out of schools because the majority of them believe that they've been invited over here by the Biden administration, and it's a sad thing, And I remember, when I was on patrol interviewing illegal aliens, the story has always been the same. When we ask them how did you enter, El Salvador, how did you enter Guatemala, and then the majority would tell you, without a permit, sin permiso, how'd you get there? Well, I paid the officials.
Yeah,
I paid the officials, and then I remember when I would interview them and we'd have to count their money. I would ask them, "Hey, do you have any money on you?" And I would have to assure them, "I don't want your money.
We're not going to steal.
I'm not going to steal your money."
We're not like those officials over there.
And so you're also talking about, I know, kind of going to jump a little bit again, this declaration of military accountability, right? You're holding up some papers there, and I believe that was the papers that you're holding up.
Well, part of it was
the border law as well.
Was the border law, but the other one's the military, the Declaration of Military Accountability. And so what happened, Manny, with that is group of active veteran, retired military personnel jumped on board. And in essence, if you read this document, it's like a declaration of independence saying, in the course of human events is the very first, phrase of the first sentence. And go research it, folks. The Declaration of Military Accountability. They got together and basically they laid down the gauntlet and said, through your actions, through your unconstitutional, unlawful orders, you harmed people with the vax. And
Wow.
so, that right off the bat.
So this is
put us on the radar.
This is basically patriots that have gotten together.
Patriots, man. And look, it's detailed. You got to read it. I printed it out. I got the notice about it and started doing some research into it. It's what is happening when people realize, and this, we're going to bounce around, but we're always going to try to, put the big picture for you folks. People are getting tired, man. We can no longer trust in government.
Yeah.
Honestly, we cannot, man. What I mean by that is
from the get-go, we couldn't trust government. That was the whole purpose.
Well, that was the whole purpose of the revolution, to fight against tyranny. But what I'm saying is, when people are not involved, when patriots are not involved, when conservatives, when believers in the one true God, Jesus Christ, are not involved, the state of the world, the dynamic of the world is to decay, to become corrupted, to fall apart, brother. And so we need to be involved. And so this group of people got together and have issued this out, and it made waves, etc. But part of the reason, Manny, is because people are fed up. They have waited. They have relied. Look, how many times, how many declarations of invasion did we see and declarations of emergency? It's all opportunities that the government wants to seize. And when I say the government, I mean state, local, city, county, brother. I'm talking about everybody sees this as a cash cow.
And it's like keeping the carrot before the horse, right? I mean, they put out these things, and we've been to a few meetings, you more than I, where these declarations of invasion, all these declarations keep coming up, and here's another one,
And there's huge gaping loopholes.
Yeah, all the time, every single time. And I'm looking at this Declaration of Military Accountability here. I'll put it up on the screen here.
So we're gonna bounce back and forth.
Yeah, because it all has to do with each other, right? And so I see here it says, in the course of human events, it sometimes becomes necessary to admonish the lawless.
Yeah.
Encourage the faint-hearted and strengthen the weak. The scriptures tell us that, Rasul, the Apostle Paul tells us, it's okay to be angry, but don't sin, right? We need to use that anger. It's called righteous indignation.
Yes. And so I think about, the righteous indignation of a people who have waited and trusted on the processes, the systems, the officials, bro. I remember the language that said, in Abbott's declarations in the past, any bus going down, any mode of conveyance, any conveyance of transportation will be stopped, impounded, and all this other stuff. The buses continue to roll. He, through his Texas Division of Emergency Management, got into a contract, with busing companies to send these people to Chicago, New York, to infest and invade and infiltrate God only knows who into the interior of our country, brother. He's always left loopholes. He said that these vehicles would be impounded, and now to add injury to insult, Manny, we're flying them out. Texans, you are flying illegal aliens into the interior of the country. Your governor, your government, your state agencies are aiding and abetting infiltrators, invaders, illegal aliens, man, into the interior of the country, because we know that all these people are crossing the river illegally right off the bat. 8 U.S.C. 1325, illegal entry, failing to report to an inspection point, to failing to present themselves to an immigration officer.
Right.
That is the law that these people are violating. If you want to do it legally, you go to an embassy, perhaps. And you report to a port of entry, whether it is a land port, seaport, or airport. That is the process. And so that is why these people are coming in. See, here locally, Judge Leo Moses, made a ruling had to do with the fence. There was this fight between, the state wanting to cut the concertina wire, wanting to, the feds wanting to cut the wire, and the state, putting them up. And so it turned into this, for a little time frame, a spat between Texas and the Biden administration.
Yeah.
So the judge ruled and said, hey, look, this is a terrible situation, but the feds can continue to cut the fence for safety, for where life is in danger. People got upset, furious about it. But the fact of the matter, Manny, is that once these people step 1 inch into the U.S., they're in the country, brother.
Yeah.
They got to get scooped up. And a lot of times this wire, this fence, these barriers, they're inside, whether it's 10 feet, 100 feet, a mile, they're inside it.
And as painful it is to watch, it's painful it is to watch. It's federal law, but it's amazing to me because people have tried to tell me, now once they're in here, they're here legally. Once they're given their documentation, not necessarily, no, because they're still in violation of 8 U.S.C. 1325, and they're called illegal aliens. One of the things that I get upset about, Frank, is they keep calling them migrants, and then refugees. The NGOs keep promoting them as migrants and refugees.
And not just the NGOs, brother. Look, no secret, I'm running for Congress, folks. And the reason I'm running for Congress is because I'm tired of the freaking lies, man. I'm tired of the games, as are so many Americans, brother. And our patience is wearing thin with government, with officials, with the heroes of the movement, whatever that movement might be. People are seeing through that it's boiling down. As you boil it down, there's only a small group of people that are going to actually step up, step forward, stand in the gap, and fight. and that might come, Annie, at the risk of our wealth, our future, our very lives. But it has to be done. But to close the thought on why I referred to the judge, the reason that people got upset, and she says, look, that she allowed this to happen, etc. And so people, she asked, hey, well, it makes common sense, she says, that in order to avoid all this drama surrounding these people coming into the country illegally, they should just be reporting to the port of entry.
Yeah.
And she asked a rhetorical question. Why are they not being told to report to a port of entry? That's a rhetorical question. She's an intelligent woman. I know she knows the answer is because there's a different criteria and a different methodology, Manny. You know this as well as I do. When a person reports to a port of entry, a decision can be made right then and there. On their admissibility to the country.
Yep.
And so when they cross between a port of entry, now you have to afford them the opportunity to go hear their cause before an immigration official of some kind.
Which is not happening now for years.
So it's not happening now under this Biden administration. Probably what's happening, though, even though they might all go to the port of entry, they've loosened up the parole criteria, the humanitarian criteria, the refugee criteria, the credible fear asylum claim criteria. Under this administration, it is totally lawless, bro. It is unconstitutional. And so it's all working against us, it seems like at this point. And so that's why with this, declaration of military accountability, what this group of people did, they said, we're putting you on notice. And those words that they started off is reminiscent. And it is actually taken right out of the Declaration of Independence. Basically, they're saying, we the people are fed up. We the people are tired. We have given you time. We have allowed this process to unfold. You're betraying us because you're making money or you have some kind of globalist agenda. And it is both parties, man. It is the Unity Party. It is the establishment. But at the end of the day, it is freedom-loving children of light versus globalist children of the God of this world, brother. That's what it boils down to. And so we have a bunch of, when you're talking about people calling them, migrants or immigrants, they are illegal aliens as per the United States Code, as per U.S. law. So when you get a candidate, and I'm calling out the folks that are running Congressional District 23, you're out here talking about migrants and immigrants and pobrecitos and all this kind of stuff. They are invaders. They're coming to our country illegally. And in that group of people, there are people that mean harm. They have ill will towards the United States. And so your candidate doesn't have the spine enough to say that these are illegal aliens and doesn't have the spine to call out Abbott and for what he's doing, aiding and abetting this invasion. Not just Biden and Democrat and these targets of opportunity because they're easy. Call out the party members who are complicit, who are on the payroll of the Koch brothers, Americans for Prosperity, the Libre Initiative, like Victor Avila, who I'm running against, has on his staff a former regional director, Lucy Rios, for the Libre Initiative, brother. These are open borders amnesty groups, brother. They are funded by the Koch brothers. They are paying over $75 million to get Trump out of the primary. The Koch brothers have funded Nikki Haley through their Americans for Prosperity PAC. And they are open borders, do research, KOCH, Koch brothers, Americans for Prosperity, Libre Initiative. They also fund the Cato Institute, and the Cato Institute that says it's time for the U.S. to do away with borders. It's time to do away with our sovereignty. Why? Because they are globalists, bro. And that is the fight. That is what this race in CD23 is really about. It is about an America First candidate who's going to stand up and fight and tell the truth and not play games. Why? Because they want to rub elbows with Abbott and all these other elected officials. They want to be part of the party elite and do the hoity-toity stuff. Yeah. We are here to fight. We are here to fight for America. We're here to fight for our future and to proclaim the truth above all else, which is Jesus Christ.
That's exactly right. I chuckled earlier because it's always been about a remnant. Throughout history, even when you read the scriptures, it's always been a remnant that has had to stand up and has had to fight, even at the risk of shedding blood. Even as when this nation began, when you're talking about constitutionality, in regards to the law, 8 USC Code, 8 U.S. Code 1325. It's a constitutional law that says any alien is apprehended for entering or attempting to enter the United States at a time or place other than as designated by immigration officers shall be subject to civil penalty, and in removal from the United States, and to continue to be promoting these people that are coming across illegally as migrants and refugees is completely wrong.
Yeah,
and it throws this idea into people's heads that they're coming over here seeking a better way of life, but the majority of them aren't anymore. And how do we know that? Because over 90% of them don't even show up to their court dates. Yeah. If they were truly seeking a better way of life, they would do things lawfully. Once they received their notice to appear in court, they would make effort. But the reality, folks, is they're not making any effort. Yeah. And then, sad to say, even worse, is that this Biden administration is also damaged and has also brought much damage to these illegal aliens as well, as put their lives in peril, because now the majority of them are going to be indentured servants basically for the rest of the time that they're here, paying off the cartels, paying off the smuggling organizations. Somebody's making money. And then you were talking about earlier as well as people on both sides of the aisle. Yes, it's up to people on both sides of the aisle. That's why it's important that you vet your candidates. The reality, and again, we're in District 23, so I have to mention his name because it's Tony Gonzalez, the one who actually one of the first ones, Frank, to petition the Biden administration to use taxpayer dollars to fly illegal aliens into the country militarily, using military bases, right?
Yeah. And one of the first things he did, bro, was to go down to Mission Border Hope, Eagle Pass, and he got with the director and said, "Hey, I'm here to provide you resources." He was asked in that interview, and it's on my YouTube channel. If you go to Frank Lopez Jr., U.S. Border Patriot, YouTube, Frank Lopez Jr., U.S. Border Patriot, you will see a video there where he is at Mission Border Hope, and the interviewer, who happens to be his best friend, Victor Wheeler, the editor of the Eagle Pass News Leader, and that's a whole other issue there, because he's using that newspaper to be his sledgehammer. People don't know that it's not a legitimate news outlet, and so he's hammering. He's using that newspaper as a hammer on his opponents. But anyways, he's asked, "Hey, what about the caravans that are coming up?" This was in 2021, and he says, "Look, we need to provide resources to these NGOs. They're doing God's work," is what he says. And so you're going to hear that. You're going to hear this rhetoric, these talking points wrapped up. Very generic statements. The NGOs are doing God's work, is what he says. Law enforcement's doing God's work, is what he says. There are issues that are so complex, Manny, with this. And so, yeah, he is an infiltrator. He is a globalist. He has been aided by the Koch brothers that I'm telling you about, brother. I was looking at their website, Americans for Prosperity PAC. Go look it up, Americans for Prosperity. Look up endorsements, and there's a list there of people running as Republicans that have been endorsed by Americans for Prosperity.
Wow.
So you need to go to those people. If you live in that district, and we don't have it here in front of us. Just go do the research. You need to ask these representatives why they are being endorsed by open borders, cheap labor, amnesty, Trump-hating Americans for Prosperity, which is funded by the Koch brothers.
And the Koch brothers have
and
been,
the Libre Initiative is also in the mix.
and the Koch brothers have also had ties with the Clintons, right? From my understanding as well.
They're mega billionaires, brother, mega billionaires, and they want to affect the outcome of this race. They don't like Trump because Trump, in a sense, was a protectionist. America first. Let's be the global leader, and so that was going to affect trade and the economy, obviously. And so they didn't like his tough stance on immigration, on border security specifically. And so that is why they have raised over $75 million to run anti-Trump ads, why they endorsed Nikki Haley, who's a globalist. And Nikki Haley, by the way, endorsed Tony Gonzalez. And so, look, folks, that's why I say, Manny, it is boiling down to freedom-loving, children of light versus those children that are under the power of darkness. And these are the globalists. And what I'm telling you is that's what it's boiling down to. Everything that's happening in the world, it is light versus darkness. Now, it plays out in the geopolitical sphere, and it plays out in, locally, and it does play out. But if your elected officials, your candidates, your appointed, officials, and your hired employees with with government agencies, if they are not children of light, Manny, their thinking is darkened. That is what the Word of God says, plain and simple. So you want people that are enlightened because of the blood of Jesus Christ running for office. That's what we need in this country. We got away from God. We got away from, putting God first, from the pledge, and from, we went about, and when I say we, I'm talking about our society through decades, getting God out of every arena that was, that's out there, whether it's education, business, entertainment, music, the military, etc. And so that is why we are in the place where we are at. And that is why what's happening in our country is an existential threat. Existential means an event or an issue that is so imminent and is so dangerous as to call into question the existence of an entity. In other words, when it's existential, it means that it could actually lead to the demise, destruction, the obliteration of something. And so that is what they are trying to do here, is obliterate America because of our Judeo-Christian founding, etc.
You're exactly right, Frank, and it's a concerted effort. You can see starting in the 50s, shortly after World War II, which is pretty amazing, right? And this World War II, the generation that time was called the Greatest Generation, but produced another generation that, in reality, sad to say, made a concerted effort. The majority made a concerted effort to remove God from our society, and then just continued to snowball, and then the globalist ideology came in as well. And we look at the effects of open borders. I remember when Germany started opening their borders and came together with the European Union, and everybody, let's hold hands and let's open our borders to whoever. But now we see what's happening here real quick. There's a headline that I saw yesterday. What's happening in Germany as a result. The headline even says Germany is falling. Mobs of military aged.
Yep.
Military age Muslim, and they call them migrants. They're illegal aliens over there too. But anyway, so
Manny, real quick, man. A couple of days ago, I was in San Antonio the weekend, meeting with people, putting up signs, etc. Went down to the Invasion Processing Center down on San Pedro Boulevard, 7000 San Pedro.
The Invasion Processing Center.
It's the Invasion Hub. The city folks call it the Migrant Resource Center, whatever. It is aiding and abetting invaders, and they are using tax dollars that should be going to local citizens for this, just as much as our state governor here, Abbott, is funding the invasion, aiding and abetting. Everything we see here, Manny, for us as former law enforcement, officials, immigration officials, this is aiding and abetting. It's
open smuggling, man.
It's a vast human smuggling operation. But anyways, real quick, as I was visiting down there, talking to folks, and had a couple of run-ins, brother, with law enforcement down there, and so that's why I'm saying, look. We come out of the law enforcement culture ourselves, and actually we put together lesson plans for our chaplaincy academy, and part of what we dealt with were the dynamics within the law enforcement world. And one of those dynamics, Manny, very, very much is the God complex aspect of this. You take on this authority, and if you are not prepared, if you don't have the emotional self-control, the mental maturity to deal with vast authority. Think about it. Law enforcement officials can take life.
Yeah.
They can take your freedom away from you. They can arrest you. If they're not equipped to deal with that, they become tyrants, brother.
Yeah.
And that's how Nazi Germany happened and other places happened. What do despotic, tyrannical governments do, bro? They go after their political opponents. What's happening here in our country? They imprison those that speak, out against the government. What is happening with the January 6th people?
Yeah.
They try to kill off their enemies. What is happening here with the vax, brother? And that probably just threw us off every social, web here. But anyways, that is what they try to do, Manny, is to gain control of the population. This is what's going on. So I bumped into a couple. They're from Germany, and as I'm speaking with them, etc., go in. They're what they were doing. They had set up a table, and there was actually like a little church group.
Yeah.
It wasn't an official function of the church. They just happened to go to the same church. They're out there. They're helping. And so you know me, brother. I'm going to go in and kind of just
Why are you guys helping?
yeah, what's going on here, and what do you say about this? So as that is unfolding, and as we start talking scripture, etc., they agree, but their sense is, well, they're here already. Let's preach the gospel and let's help them out, etc. We talked about the nuances of that because many of these people are already coming from countries, bro,
where the gospel's freely preached.
it's been already preached, etc. This is economic driven. This is about opportunity, bro. The gates were open. They're like, heck, why not? Let's go get our piece of the pie and let's go, get some milk from the big cash cow that is the American taxpayer.
You would hope that they would, that the result of preaching the gospel, they would do the right thing and go back.
And so this guy from Germany, as we're talking to him, like, hey, I was in Germany. I was in Mainz, West Germany. So we start talking about that. And as we're, that conversation is unfolding, Manny, we get to what happened to Germany, which goes in with what that article that you just threw up.
Yeah.
How, what's her name? Angela Merkel opened up the floodgates.
Yeah.
And Islamist hordes freaking invaded the country, bro. They
Illegally.
came across.
They opened the border. She allowed it. Yeah.
She allowed it, so they got some kind of, hey, hominis dominus under, governmental action. They have come in just like hominis dominus here under governmental action. Biden is allowing these people to come in conjunction with the Unit Party, and in conjunction with the NGOs and the globalists that are out there. But as we're talking, and he was telling me about the demise of Germany, bro, how bad it's turning out, how the German citizens are saying this was the worst thing we could have possibly have done to our country. Yeah. And so that article that you said, this is the downfall, the demise of West Germany in this case. Well, yeah, this is how they do it, folks. It is part of asymmetrical warfare, multi-pronged. They're attacking from different angles, using all kinds, our children and their indoctrination, the ideology of the LGBTQ, mantra that they have out there, the way that big pharma is involved, the medical complex and the military complex and all these organizations that want to clean the bones off like a bunch of vultures of what they think America is. They think America's falling, brother, and they want to get their piece before it happens.
Because somebody's going to get rich off of this, and a lot of people are getting rich. Are getting rich off of this, But it's sad. It's sad, Frank, because all you have to do is study history. You just have to look at history, and not just because I'm Jewish and I have a vested interest in my because I'm also Latino and I have a vested interest in America because I'm an American as well. I fought for this country, served this country, for this country, and willing to give my life for this country, the cause of freedom anyway. And so when we look at history and how the Nazis did it as well, they used a lot of people that I see are being used today to promote the rise of anti-Semitism, all this wokeness, open borders. They went and they used, sad to say, Nazis used the church. I can't tell you. You know, you look at history and you see how many people in the churches were raising their hand to Hitler and declaring affiliation with the Nazi Party, and they were being used. And the intellectuals were being used to help to develop plans, you know, for a better united Germany, right? And socialist Germany. They're bringing in socialism. And then what happened once the Nazis got into power? Those were the first ones they got rid of. They got rid of everybody that helped them, brother.
You know what? Go ahead.
Oh, and I'm saying, and then they went after their targets, you know, and that's the way it happens.
Yeah, and so part of the reason I would say, Randy, is because they're like, you know, if you're so weak to believe our lies, we're going to get rid of you because somebody else is going to come and
that's what happened.
Somebody else is going to come and use you.
Yeah.
Of course, they're always going to have their little useful idiots that they're going to you know, throw out there, run for office, you know, and get elected, and then become a liability to the country, like, you know, our Congressman Tony Gonzalez here, who is full-blown globalist, brother.
Yeah. You know,
full-blown. Now he's made a hard right. He's running around.
But don't believe him, folks. Don't believe he's out there to protect our borders, because if he remains in office, folks, he'll still continue.
He's going to continue. He comes around and changes, you know, during political season. And so there are very few, Manny, out there that have a true vested interest in America, what I would call the true grassroots. You know, you're going to give folks, I'm the grassroots, I'm the true conservative, whatever. This is the way I would vet them. First of all, you go look at their social media, of course. You follow the money. Who are they affiliating with? Who are they taking pictures with? I would never be caught in a picture with the former director of the Libre Initiative, Rafael Bejar, here in Texas. Yeah. You know, the Libre Initiative being funded by the Koch brothers, which are Amnesty. I would never take a picture with that dude, like Victor Avila did. I would never do that. I would not go kiss the ring of Abbott. And you know, try to get on some school choice task force of some kind.
You got to call him out.
You got to call him out. If I'm in a room with Abbott brothers, to ask him, why are you betraying us? Yeah. Why are you using our tax dollars to aid and abet this invasion into the country? Not going to get into a room with the guy, first of all, if they would ever even let me in there. But if so, to ask him those questions to his face, because he is betraying his oath to the Constitution. He is betraying his oath to the people of this country. And he is Abbott the abdicator, brother. And that's why I'm going to stick by that. I'm going to say it. There's people that are cringing and wringing their hands and say, oh, Frank, you know, it's election season. Election season comes to an end.
Yeah.
Election season will come in and here shortly in 2 months, brother. You know, we start voting, early voting in the middle of February. March 5 is a primary, and Texas and Congressional District 23 are going to have a choice between a truth-telling America First patriot who is willing to call it out and say it like it is, or a bunch of bootlicking ring kissers who just are using this as some opportunity, to get in further into the political establishment machine. That is not what we need. We need people that are going to go, Manny, and go and fight tooth and nail, gouge eyes out, rip people's hair out of their heads to fight for America, brother. That's what needs to take place. And instead, we have a bunch of people that, look at all my endorsements and look at all this stuff. Look, for me, the most important endorsement, of course, is the vote of the person. Yep. That's the most important thing. Yeah, do you want to get endorsements? Of course you want to get endorsements. But folks, there are people that are just going through the political playbook. Okay, what's next? I'll get a bunch of endorsements. What's next? Get a bunch of money. What's next? Get on all these talk shows. What's next? Yeah, okay, there's a purpose in it for it. You need to get your name out there. But part of the reason they're doing is they're just checking the boxes. They're going through the motions. And you and I saw that, Manny. We saw that in government where you got all these people that rise into positions of management.
Yeah.
They forget about leadership. They leave leadership totally out. And they check the boxes. They do what they got to do just to get into that position. And once they get there, it's all self-serving. They sell out. They're spineless. They have no moral character foundation, brother. And so they're easily swayed. Why? Because their house is built on sand. And so as we go into political season, you look at them, at their social media, their pictures, their money. What are they saying? Are they talking about the deeper issues? Are they daring to call out the machine? Are they daring to slam the status quo? If they're not, then that tells you that they are part of the problem. And if you vote for them, you're just going to have the same result. And that is a definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
And it's hard because there's a dilemma. There's a dilemma, that with the human dynamic, and as an American, Frank, I want to believe my fellow Americans when they say they're on the right side of the law. Yep. I want to believe their words, and because one of the biggest things that bothered me is the unwillingness of believers, conservatives, whatnot, and Republicans, the unwillingness to call people out and to call in, because it's this idea of, like in Spanish we say ni modo, right? Or it is what it is, right? It is what it is. And then there's this acceptance. But what also bothered me was people saying, well, I'm going to vote for this person because we need a Republican in there. But
vote red, keep it red.
Keep it red, but are unwilling to go beyond to look at are they really red?
Are they commie red?
Are they commie red, right? Or are they globalists? Because the Republican Party, sad to say, is full of globalists.
It's been infiltrated.
It's been infiltrated. And we look at the Democrats, and they're just overt. They're just overtly out there, right?
They're pro-death,
they're
pro-baby killing.
Yeah, they hate marriage. They hate God.
They hate life.
They hate America.
They hate freedom.
Yeah, they love money. But
they love power more than money.
What's the scripture say? For the love of money is the root of all evil. The root of all evil. It's not. People get it wrong all the time. They say money's the root of all evil. No, it's the love of money.
They sell their soul for it.
Yeah, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. And so there's this innate desire, within people to want to, you're talking about rubbing elbows. There's an innate desire to want to be gods per se. This past year, 2023, I've kind of labeled it in my own personal opinion as the year of wokeness, right? And where all this wokeness supposedly came out, everybody's eyes are open. But what's amazing is that in Genesis, right, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 5, right, where Eve is being tempted by the serpent, and Adam and Eve being tempted, and he actually tells her, if you eat of this tree, your eyes will be open, right? And then later on, Yeshua, Messiah, he says, for those who see, they can say that they can see, cannot see. Right, and so you see this, and the reason is because the serpent, the adversary, has blinded people, and we see this. All these people thinking that they can see, but in reality, they're blind to the truth, and even worse, willfully.
Yeah, willfully. And what does the word also say, Manny? That they will gather them to themselves.
As
teachers
they will gather to themselves
that speak sweet, little things into their ears, and they tickle their ears, and that's what happens, bro. Here we are in political season, so they're looking at the superficial. They're running around, who looks more congressional, who has the most money and endorsement, all that stuff. People, there's smoke and mirrors to all that, Manny. It has to do with the substance, the character of the person.
Yeah.
That is what is important, brother. Who cares if they look like whatever on the outside? And there's a truth. Look, I need to lose weight, bro. Part of it has to do with, for the health, and part of it, there is also an essence true to self-discipline. If you have self-discipline, you're going to exercise, you're going to keep your body fit, you're going to prepare for war, etc. And I've been working on it. I got to get a new belt.
So if there's a taco,
I got to go buy me a new belt.
If there's a taco restaurant next to a gym, there's this struggle, right? There's this innate struggle.
Oh man, that's a big struggle. But anyways, yeah. So there is an aspect to that, bro. True. And both of us coming from military and the Border Patrol background, we went through rigorous training. That's true. And so we make those decisions, and we work towards them. And I'm glad to say, that's something that I've been working on. But people, we need to move away from just the superficial aspect of this and get down to the nitty gritty. What do you think about, and ask the hard questions. Ask the hard questions of, for instance, people out there throwing about, well, we need immigration reform. What the heck does that even mean other than it's code for asylum? It's code for open borders, because we have had programs in place.
Yes.
We have had visa allocation programs where, citizens of certain countries can apply for visas and certain criteria, certain technical expertise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As a matter of fact, if there's any immigration reform that needs to look at, we need to look at the way that we have been handing out visas like candy. And tighten it down, tighten up on that. So yeah, I would say the opposite. They want to open the border. I would say we need to tighten this down.
The amount
and look at the amount and who we're giving these visas to. Chain migration. We need to put a stop to that. I'm on record saying that. So these are the issues that we need to talk about, bro.
And look at the amount of paroled aliens that have increased since this administration has come into power, right? I mean, people will tell me all the time, "Well, do you believe we need immigration reform?" I say, I believe we need to enforce our laws. I'm going to tell you, when Trump was in office, our laws were being enforced. People were being deported. People were being put in jail. People had to go through the process. And look, I'm not all about it. Manny, are you all about just deporting and putting people in jail? If they've broken the law, there has to be consequences. Right now, there are no consequences, and people really don't understand what's happening over here.
Yeah.
When I look at like Tony Gonzalez is huge in saying that one of the big reasons he wanted these mega processing centers was to help the family units, to keep track of the family units, and he'll keep track of the children.
What family units?
There's no family units, and we've lost track of all the children. I was talking to some agents the other day, and I said, it's pretty amazing. And I was being sarcastic about it. It's pretty amazing the increase of single fathers coming across this border. Right, all of a sudden you have these males coming across these children. Which when we first started, that you never saw that.
It was rare, bro.
It was rare.
It was men coming to work.
It was men coming to work, and if they brought any children, they brought their wives with them, with the children. Now there's this huge influx of single fathers, and then the mothers left. I'm going to tell you, over the spectrum of generations and cultures, rarely do you see the mothers abandoning their families, right? And fathers coming across, all of a sudden these fathers coming across with all these children. Folks, these children are being trafficked. These children are being trafficked. They're being sold. They're being kidnapped, and it's a sad reality. And our tax dollars are being used for it through these NGOs. I blame a lot of these NGOs too, Frank. That I can't stand these NGOs, a lot of them. And I'm going to tell you, as a member of the clergy, as a member of the religious community, I encourage you, if your community or congregation is helping these NGOs, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it right now and investigate these NGOs.
Yeah, bro. This has been part of the awareness campaign per se. Some people get into campaign mode when it's time for election. We did our time. We served. You served longer in the military than I did. I served longer in the patrol than you did. But once we both got out, we're still serving our community.
Yeah, we're still serving.
You are the leader of a synagogue here. You serving. You are, serving to the most pressing and urgent need, which is the spirit of man. But there is also civic involvement, and so that's what we have been doing, Manny. Is just sounding the alarm, going to the NGOs, going to the border, et cetera, et cetera. There are people that are going to come around. Why? Because they're opportunists.
Yeah.
They see an opportunity for name recognition, sell a book, make a movie, try to get elected or whatever. And I get those kinds of calls and stuff. Hey, man, can you go show me? I need to take some pictures and stuff. And I'm like, dude, wow, man. There are people that live in these border regions day in and day out. They live with the danger. They live with the disease, bro. Because these people are coming through. They're infecting other people, airborne diseases and otherwise.
They're not being vetted, and we've talked to the NGOs about that. They've admitted to us.
They admitted that they're not being vetted. And so that is part of what's going on here. And of course, now as we sounded the alarm and we warned you, what happens on the border does not stay on the border. Sure enough, now Chicago, New York, and these other cities are all squawking. It was okay when it wasn't happening to them. And see, that's just part of the general malaise, the disease, the complacency, Manny, that is part of the reason America is falling, brother.
Yeah.
They stopped fighting for life. They stopped fighting for the child in the womb, for conception. A new life form is created. They stopped fighting for that. They stopped fighting for freedom. They stopped fighting for America. They stopped fighting, to allow the Pledge of Allegiance to be said in school, etc. That is what the left, the Marxists, the globalists have been doing. But it's easy to throw those stones, and we need to be truthful and say, look, part of the reason this is happening is because of the Unit Party.
Yeah.
The globalists, infiltrators in the Republican Party. Hey, look, I agree with the platform. Many a time I have spoken about the Texas Republican Party platform. I agree with it.
The platform is amazing.
It is God-centric, bibliocentric. It acknowledges God immediately.
And traditional marriage and
exactly the nuclear family. The fact that there are only two sexes, male and female. That's it. That's it. So I agree with that. But so many people who call themselves Republicans don't even know where to find it, brother. And if they saw it, they would think it's toilet paper because that's all they're using it for, as well as the Constitution. You got a bunch of folks running around for office saying, believe in the Constitution, whatever, and they don't understand it. Et cetera. And that's what we, showcased and sounded the alarm initially about Tony Gonzalez. And that's why I'm going to continue to sound the alarm about the people that are running in Congressional District 23. Folks, beware. I'm warning you. I am telling you. And if what I warned you about before, about Tony Gonzalez came to be true, as I'm telling you about Victor, I'm telling you the same thing. And then sure, and also Brandon and Julia are running, and so there's a case to be made there as well. But for me, what is very obvious is when you have a person running around with a Koch-funded Americans for Prosperity Libre initiative, that is in your face, the wolf parading around. And several months ago, during the summer of last year, now 2023, I posted and said, look, Tony Gonzalez is in trouble. He's been censured by the Republican Party of Texas. He's in trouble here. And this is the real question. Who is the establishment going to insert into CD 23 as an insurance policy? Who is the establishment going to insert into the CD 23 congressional race as an insurance? Because the establishment globalists want their puppet. They will continue to push their puppets through. And it's not just the national establishment. The state also has its puppets in this race as well. So you need to look at who Abbott is pushing for, who is Abbott endorsing, who is hanging out with Abbott, who is running around kissing Abbott's ring and licking his boots, who wants to be in the same room with Abbott. That's what I tell you, folks. If they're in the room, the only way I get in a room with that man, brother, is to call him out for being a traitor to Texas and to America, bro, for abdicating his role as a governor on the biggest section of border. 1,250 miles of U.S.-Mexico border. He's allowing these buses to go in and out. We are now flying them out on our tax dollar, brother. Yeah. That is a betrayal to America. He has thrown out SB 4, which is, I've talked to policy experts, brother, and they just say it's a piece of trash legislation.
Just like everything else he's thrown out there in regards to the border.
Everything's had a loophole so big in it you could drive busloads of illegal aliens through. And that's exactly what's been happening.
And all you have to do is look at the result of what's happening, all these things that he's thrown out and whatnot, and still. It's increased. Everything is increased, right? Illegal immigration is increased. Over 760,000 illegal aliens since October.
Bro, all that's increased here in Texas, brother. We've poured billions. We have poured billions of dollars into the state, Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Division of Emergency Management. Yeah. We have social service entities, governmental entities here, Manny, in the state that are charged with the responsibility to interact with Health and Human Services at the federal level. They're charged to act with the Office of Refugee Resettlement. That is how all this is happening. Yeah. And look, last night I was on a phone call listening to folks talk and subject matter experts, brother, talking about the way that this is happening. I saw a text here that as we get into the new year, into the political season, lo and behold, whoa, don't be surprised. There's a new disease on the horizon. Exactly, bro. This is a massive operation. It is orchestrated. Yeah. It has many levels, many layers. It is broad and wide and comprehensive, and it incorporates every level of government. And notably, more significantly, of course, the federal government. But when you have a guy like Abbott at the governorship here, he's just aiding and abetting. And none of these other governors are doing anything forcefully about this. They all they do, Manny, is scream for more money. If we were going to get sued by the federal government here in Texas, brother, what we should have gotten sued for was for getting these people that cross in the sight of a DPS trooper or National Guardsman that has been deployed here by our government, if we're going to get sued for anything, it's for getting them, scooping them up, and taking them to the port of entry and telling them, go back to Mexico, wait in line. If we're going to get sued for anything, it should have been for that, not for some toothless legislation that, first of all, is going to ask the illegal alien invader, hey, you want to get out of the country? You want to go back to your country? I mean, that's ridiculous, bro. And so, look, it's got to be called out. You know, people are probably cringing and freaking shaking their heads.
But here's
the truth.
And here's the thing: constitutionally, Texas has the ability to do that.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe so, bro.
To deport illegal aliens or not to allow people into.
Look at Article 4, bro. That the government's supposed to be protecting, defending against invasion. Supposed to protect the states against invasion. Look at Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. It says, you know, it says there. If you could research and bring it up, bro, real quick, but. What it says is that the states shall not engage in Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3. It says that they're not going to engage in certain activities. And part of it is, you know, tariffs and entering into agreements, you know, raising an army, you know, raising a navy, et cetera. And I don't know if you found it, bro. Right there. And it says all that the states will not do all this unless, and that is a huge word, brother, in legalese, you know, in legal jargon, unless these things happen. And I don't know if you found it.
Yeah, I haven't found it. I've been able to, yeah.
Yeah, it's Texas Article 1, Section 10, Clause 4. But unless actually invaded or it's such imminent danger that you can't afford to wait. That is what that says, brother. And so you have these people out here, and they'll throw up their spokesman, you know, for DPS, et cetera. They'll throw out all this stuff. Everybody rages and rants about the drug trade and all these high-speed pursuits. And, you know, you get mayors of cities saying, you know, we can't sustain this. We can't put up with this anymore, et cetera. Everybody talks about how dangerous it is and how much it's costing us and all that stuff. But yet, when it comes down to the Constitution and being able to actually engage, they run away from it, or they refer to some case out of Arizona and they say, "Oh, that's already been tested. That's within the federal purview." Look, I disagree with that. Based just on the most simplest of basis here, Manny, is that if your house is on fire, you want the house put out. You don't care if it's your neighbor with a water hose. You don't care if it's your neighbors running across the street with buckets of water. You know, you cannot afford to wait for the big, shiny, multi-million-dollar fire engine to pull up and put out the fire. You're going to do what's necessary. If a gang of criminals is trying to break into your house and is smashing, kicking in your door, you know, you don't have the time and the luxury to go get on the phone and wait for people to show up and drive in from who knows where. You have to defend yourself. You have to be ready to defend yourself. And so what is happening here is our country is being invaded. We have people coming in with God only knows the intent, the motive of their heart. And there are truly dangerous people that are involved in this. And so we have all this array of candidates and officials and appointed officials and all these people that are all squawking and screaming. And so what we need to do is, and this people say, well, what are you going to do? You get into office. We have got to defund this invasion. We have to get these NGO directors up to Capitol Hill. Tell us how they're spending the money. We want to see the books. We want to see the way that money is being spent all up and down. From these small little NGOs like Mission Border Hope and Valverde Border Humanitarian Coalition, we want you up at Capitol Hill. We want the national contractors that have gotten these busing contracts. We want them at Capitol Hill. These NGO companies like Endeavors, we want them at Capitol Hill. We need to go look at this money, bro, and cut it off, defund it. If we can take money away from our veterans, if we can redirect our resources to help illegal alien invaders with veteran benefits, we need to be able to take that money away from the invasion enablers. Stop sending money to the Ukraine. Stop sending money to dictators in other countries. America first. The money stays home. We cut the cords with all these organizations that are actively enabling the invasion and the criminalization, the lawlessness in this country. We need to go after these universities, brother,
you're exactly
that are
right.
pushing this Jewish hate out there as well. Why are they getting tax dollars?
Yeah.
That's what we need up in Congress, bro. We don't need a bunch of ring-kissing bootlickers up there anymore. The time is over for that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
you got to stop because we got to get people out of office that are just in it for the photo ops, man. And you know it's and with all the benefits that they get as well, you know. And it's amazing because also, Frank, I wanted to also mention about these people here, especially here in Texas, who are making money off of chartering these charter corporations. These people who are doing construction and building things here at the border, they got to be making money off of this as well. Somebody's got to approve all that here in the state of Texas as well, to put the stamp of approval to continue to build and encourage all this construction, all these charters, because all that does is facilitate illegal immigration and further illegal immigration into the United States. So he can say, Abbott can push all these border laws or whatever stuff, but with his hand, he's over here signing approval for all these things.
Let me give you a perfect example of that, bro. So I'm down in Carrizo Springs reporting on the Studios facility. The Studios was a huge a child detention center that was down there for these illegal alien kids. Yeah. And so it was being run by Baptist Child and Family Services. Baptist Child and Family Services. And I was down there filming and everything. That's where I got assaulted by one of the off-duty Zavala County sheriffs. And actually, he ended up getting fired because there was a whole bunch of corruption going on with them. They were actually, some of these deputies, brother, were working at that facility, getting paid as, security personnel, but also billing the citizens of Zavala County at the same time, brother. Double dipping, bro.
Wow.
It's one thing to moonlight. Hey, you get off work and you go be a security guard over here somewhere. They were actually on duty at the Baptist Child and Family Services facility, getting paid by that corporation and billing the citizens of Zavala County, down in not Zavala, in Dimmitt County, bro.
County, yeah.
Yeah, in Carrizo Springs, Dimmitt. But anyways, Baptist Child and Family Services is running that facility, and to take care of the kids and all that kind of stuff. They're getting money from the feds for that, and then the state hires them here in Del Rio to run this NGO camps that were over here, bro. So they were making money off the federal invasion funded side of the coin and making money off the state response to the invasion side of the coin. Everybody is making money, Manny. Not everybody,
a lot of
people, brother, are making money off of this. A lot of these contracts that these busing companies, et cetera. You go do the research, like the one I did right down here. That's on Old Las Vacas Road and the Spur 239. There's a facility there, and you research that company, and it has contracts with Department of Homeland Security, running camps out of Pearsall, etc., and with the military, Department of Defense out of Alaska, out there at military bases in Alaska. So you have elements of the war machine. You have elements of these endless war entities that want to make money off of the blood of our young men and young women. That are now involved with this invasion as well. And that's what I'm saying, if I'm elected to Congress, brother, I'm calling for these people, these heads of agencies, these heads of organizations, these heads of contracted entities, go up, bring your books. We want to look at your books. We want to see how that money's being spent. And also look at who they're donating to. Yeah. Who they are donating to, because that's what we've said. The money goes out from the big cash cow that is the American taxpayer, and it eventually makes its way back, the money right back into the pockets of these politicians. And so that's what needs to take place up there.
And I was going to say, and those outside of Texas, because I know we got a lot of people watching outside of Texas as well. Look at your candidates as well, and demand of them. If they want your vote, and they want to be put in office, demand of them to call out the governors as well, to call out Congress, to stand up for what is right. As citizens, we have the right to call out our elected officials. That's why we put them in the office, to represent us, to do what is right for this nation. And I can tell you, and we've said it over and over again on this program. What I see happening, here is basically government sanctioned smuggling
Yep.
and human trafficking with this border invasion. And then now these, like you said earlier, now and these universities that continue to receive money. Thankfully, there's a whole bunch of been some $1 billion donors that have pulled their money away out of some of these universities and are demanding the removal of some of these university presidents. Jewish donors, Jewish billionaires and billionaires as well. But folks, you have every right to stand up for your nation and put people in office. Vet them. Look at their history. Look who they're rubbing elbows with. Because what we see here, and what I see happening here, folks, is nothing more than human trafficking.
Yeah.
Government sanctioned human trafficking, and we're paying for it.
And not just that, bro. I mean, you look at everything else that is transpiring in our country, the way our economy is getting run down in the ground. I mean, I go all over the place, and everybody knows, bro, the cost of everything has gone up.
Oh, my gosh.
Food, building materials, clothing, everything has gone up. Services, that's part of it. The other aspect of it is what is being taught to our children. You know, that it's dangerous and it is unnatural.
But there's nothing,
quite honestly,
because there's really education is not even being put in our schools anymore. They in some states they've even removed the prerequisite of law and I mean of math and science just to push people through, and this woke ideology is being pushed through.
And that's just that's at the elementary level
gosh.
and middle school. Not even talking about the cesspool that a lot of these universities have turned into, bro. Yeah, it's all over the place. And so you're right. And we're going to start winding it down here as we're looking at the clock, folks. We know we could go on and on about this, but I ask that you please go to my website. I am running for Congress. I need your help. Hey, do what you can. I know times are tough. Do what you can. The Lord will provide, and we'll do what we can with what He does provide. That's it. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue speaking the truth, and I'm going to continue to warn you, because that's what I have been doing. That is why I left the Border Patrol early, retired 5 years early. I distinctly understood, get out and warn the people. And that's what I'm doing. And as we go into this 2024 year, only the Lord obviously knows what holds and what is, in stock for us, what's going to happen down to the thoughts and intents of every human being that's alive. That is how great and how wonderful and how awesome our God is, that He knows all this, brother.
Yeah.
Him knowing the number of hairs on your head, it's
gets
so
less and less every year, but it's all right.
But it's beyond that, brother. Beyond that. He knows the intents and the motivations of each individual heart of every person that's on this planet, brother. What an awesome, majestic God we serve, bro. Only He knows. But I'll tell you that the globalist America freedom haters, they have an idea of what they're going to put in place. They know what they're working towards. And so for those of us that are awake and are vigilant and kind of reading and looking and talking with like-minded people, we're not some part of some vast right-wing conspiracy, because anything that was being said, bro, in the past that was labeled as such has come to fruition for the most part.
Oh, my goodness.
And so you need to be aware and prepared. And you need to be preparing your family. And if anybody out there got stuck with that thing in their blood system, in their bodies now, look, we're praying for you, that the effects of that evil concoction that was put together in some lab and, that was, fabricated for death, we're praying against the effects of that. Cry out to the Lord. Cry out to the Lord. Cry out and ask for forgiveness for trusting in man and not trusting in God.
Yep.
Cry out to God that He will cleanse you from the effects of that. And no matter what you are going through right now in your life, problems, marriage, money, relationships, your children are prodigals, they're out there, bad bosses and all this stuff, your health, etc. God can certainly move in your situation. Humble yourself before the mighty hand of God. Humble yourself before Him. Cry out to Him, and He hears. He hears. And His fashion and His time, He will answer. Now, there's some things, Manny, we talk about this. There are some things that are only going to get taken care of by eternity, brother.
Yeah.
There are some people that are terminally ill, and look, you can pray and everything, etc. But that is why it's so important to have eternity locked down,
Yep.
to know where your eternal home is. And the only way, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. The only way you get a lockdown, key into eternity is through the door, who is Jesus Christ.
So that's the reality. I mean, that's why salvation is so important. We live in a dying body. That's just the way it is, and our minds can be affected, our health can be affected. But salvation is assured through Messiah. The Bible, tells us, and I believe it, that if you believe in your heart, confess with your mouth that Yeshua is Lord, and He is seated at the right hand of the Father, then you will be saved.
Amen.
And I pray today that be your today would be the day of your salvation. Because we're not promised tomorrow. We're looking forward to this coming year, but the reality is we're not promised tomorrow.
Exactly.
And the scriptures also say that take no part in the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. And I bring that up because I want to speak real quick just to the religious community, specifically to Jewish and Christian leaders. Look, I get criticized quite a bit, from my own religious community because I stand up politically and speak out against what's happening, politically in our government. And some people say I should just restrict it to the pulpit, but that's not the way it's supposed to be, folks. The way it's supposed to be is we're supposed to look and see what's happening in our world, what's happening, and how we can affect it, and how we can use our righteous indignation for good, for the glory of God. If imagine, Frank, if the religious leaders in the days of the revolution, if they stood and silent behind the pulpit,
Oh man, it wouldn't have happened.
Nothing would have happened, really.
They were the leaders.
They were the leaders. They were the leaders of the revolution, in regards to establishing this nation. For God. And that's what's. But we're losing that. We're many more and more. I see today. I just saw a statistic yesterday that less than 1% of Americans are serving in our military now, and which is tragic because in World War II it was over 42%. During Vietnam it was 11% of Americans were serving. Now it's less than 1%.
Wow.
And so and some of it has to do with that jab as well.
And the woke ideology.
And the woke ideology, right? And so anyway, folks, my prayer is that if you're a believer in the Lord, stand up, look at the Scriptures. The Scriptures will have laid out a map of what's happening, and tells us what's going to happen. But ultimately, Yeshua is victorious.
Amen.
He is victorious. You put your faith and trust in Him. Yes, our home is not here, but don't let that develop escapism.
Yep.
Where you run away from everything and don't use your voice and the courage that God has given you.
Yeah.
So, folks, we want to say thank you so much for joining us here today. And again, real quick, I'm going to put Frank's website up here on the screen, usborderpatriot.com. Please go to his website. Please help him out. He is running for Congressional District 23. If you even live out of the state of Texas, you can go to his website as well. Help him because, folks, this is one of the largest border districts in the United States here where we're at, and it needs to be secured, folks. It needs to be secured, and we need people like Frank in office to help secure our borders rather than play games and rub elbows with.
We don't have time for that, brother.
Yeah, no, we don't.
We don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that. It's folks. Game time is over, and we need to get to business and keep this country free. So with that, folks, we want to say, God willing, we'll join us here next week, next Taco Tuesday at 8 a.m. We'll talk about it live with Frank and Manny. And until then, we say God bless you, God bless America, and God bless Texas.